This channel is supported by my online fishing courses at saltstrong.com/Skinner, as well as my books. And remember, those books make great gifts. You can learn more about the books at johnskinnerfishing.com and on Amazon. Yeah, good morning. All right, just about to hit the rips for bass. I'm going to try something a little different. Instead of three-weighing bucktails, I'm going to try tsunami swim shads because I've been seeing some bunker around. And I can't imagine that this wouldn't work well. So I'm going to give that a shot. You know, that's the plan. Things change, but and maybe it won't work. I don't know. So let's go out, give it a shot. All right, just heading out into one of the rips off eastern Long Island. Yeah, you know, I've been doing really well here on bucktails, on three-way rigs, and you'll get to see that. But there's a lot of smaller fish are starting to filter in, and also there's some adult bunker moving in. So I'm trying to see if by offering them a bigger profile, especially something that imitates a larger bunker, whether I can get some larger fish out of this. So that's really why I would bother switching from bucktails, which are working, to the swim shads, which, yeah, I'm not sure at this point. But I'll have links to all of the gear in the video description, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Okay, I'm fishing between 40 and 90 feet of water. It's a very irregular bottom. Current speeds are around 3 to 4 miles an hour. Basically, you drop that rig, you pick it up a couple cranks, you try to follow the bottom contour, which is not so easy because the bottom depth is changing so much. So basically, I'm staring at that fish finder the whole time I'm doing this. This first drift is made with a bucktail. I just want to convince myself, okay, yep, the fish are here, they're hitting. And then switch over to the swim shad. So yeah, here we go. And here it's just the thing. It's a smallish striper on the bucktail. But all right, I have fish to work with. So as soon as I get this guy in, get him unhooked, I will switch over to the tsunami swim shad. Gonna go to the 7-inch. You'll get to see that. And there's the three-way rig, three-way swivel. A foot below that, I've got an 8-ounce cannonball. And then I've got about a 5-foot leader of 80-pound test fluorocarbon. And to the bucktail is about 1 ounce. It has a 5-inch fat cow jig strip on there. And like I said, there's links to all of that in the video description. So by the way, I normally will get out at the beginning of the tide. I couldn't. I had an appointment, so I couldn't get out till just about halfway down on the tide. But this is going to give me a couple of hours. I'm going to have at least 3 hours to work with here. So I can test this out. But yeah, so we're going to be seeing the back end of the tide from like half tide down to low. All right, yeah, going to just go through. Tsunami makes a bunch of shads that are appropriate for targeting bass this way, or maybe just casting. So yeah, I've got them all in this bag here. So that's a 7-inch. It weighs 3 ounces. So one of my concerns is that going to be too heavy on the end of a three-way? Is it going to drag bottom? But it's got a larger profile. It's rubber or soft plastic, whatever you want to call it. It's got that pulsating tail on the back. All of that's going to help keep it up off the bottom. I don't know what it's going to do, how it's going to work out. And there are other options there, but that 7-inch 3-ounce, that looks like the right thing to try here. You can see from the right-hand side of the fish finder, that bottom is sloping up. So you're going to see me taking a couple cranks, just trying to stay up off the bottom. Very sticky bottom. If I drag bottom, I'm going to hang up, lose the rig. Look at this big obstruction showing up on the fish finder. That is the biggest obstruction I know of in here. All right, well, good start, but you know, gonna see how it continues, and I'll keep an eye on the other boats around me. I mean, if they're catching and I'm not, well, that's going to tell me something. Did not crush the barb on that lure because the barb is really small. It's a little thinner wire hook, but very strong. No concerns about it. But it's going to turn out to be really easy to unhook these fish. And to set the hook, because the hook is one of those chemically sharpened hooks, a little bit different than the hooks that are normally in my bucktails for doing this kind of fishing. But all right, let's see, drift number 2. Ooh, that one's got a little bump to it. So the technique here is you go up to the top of the drift, drop down, do your drift. A drift, as I've learned from a recent video where I did 20 drifts in 80 minutes, they average about 4 minutes per drift, including running back up current. But yep, you go to the top of the drift, you drift back, you catch or you don't, and you run back up current, do it all again. So that's why you can see boats going by. And after I catch a fish, I'm gonna put the rod down, go back up, do it again. You'll see me taking cranks to stay off the bottom. You'll also see me drop a little bit of line once in a while just to make sure I'm near the bottom. I want to be within a couple of feet off the bottom. I don't want to drag it. Yep, there's a kind of a fine line to be in that right window of not dragging but not being too high. But you get used to it, get the hang of it. Now, to be clear, I'm not jigging. I'm holding it steady. What you're seeing, those rod bounces, that's me taking a couple cranks, because the bottom's coming up so fast. No, this is every drift on this shad. So one of my concerns was the shad going to have too much drag? I didn't know whether it's going to drag bottom or whether it's going to have a lot of pull on it and scope it out. But since I'm still able to stay with an 8-ounce sinker and the rig itself isn't scoping out, I guess there's not too much drag. Clearly 3 drifts, 3 fish. Yeah, this seems like it's going to work, but let's keep going. Yeah, getting a few. Yeah.
You got one right now?
Yep. Bigger fish. All right, so that's a better one for sure, and that's the point here. You know, try to see if I can cull some larger fish out of this, because the bucktails seem to be pulling a lot more smaller fish lately. Okay, so far I'm alleviating concerns. It doesn't seem to be dragging bottom more. You know, if it did drag bottom, I bet it wouldn't snag the bottom as easily as a bucktail, just because it's got that big rubber front. It can bounce off of things, I would think. Worried about too much drag? Doesn't seem that way. Now, as the current slows, you know, you have to have some kind of water pressure on there, some kind of speed of that lure going through the water to make that tail pulsate and swim, which is really what gets fish to hit these things. So yeah, that I think is more for the end of the tide, that could be an issue, because certainly it's all working great now. All right, I'll keep the camera running here to show you the run-up drift, just so you can see what the length of the drift is. I don't try to catch a second fish on a drift, only because in the back of the rip, it's rough back there, and I don't want to drift into that with this boat. So I focus with where the fish are up front, and I just, you know, if I get one, unhook them, run back up. You know, with most boats, the heavier fiberglass boats, you you really need to stop your boat at the top of the drift. You put it in reverse and really rev on it just to stop your boat, and that's so your line doesn't scope out. So you go over the spots that you want to go over, and also so you're not a moving target at the top of the drift for other boats trying to set up. And with this boat, I think the weight is like 800 pounds. So when I stop, it almost stops itself. Usually I'll kick it into reverse briefly, and that's enough to just stop it dead. Amazing how light the Yamaha. So this is a 70, and it weighs, I think it's 7 pounds more than the 40-horse Evinrude E-Tech I had on here previously. Yeah, somewhere in the vicinity of only like 260 pounds. So one of my trips recently, I spent 4.5 hours out here. It's like a 20-mile round trip back and forth to get here. I burned 4.3 gallons of gas because I know when I topped the tank off it was 4.3 gallons for the entire trip. And the amazing part about that is how much running you're doing up current when you're doing the fishing. All right, so I went either 2 drifts or 3 drifts without a fish. So I've made a little bit of a move to another part where basically there's nobody, which is good. We'll see how that works out. Okay, back to the original spot. Nobody around. Everybody over there. Let's see for how long. Yeah, by original spot, that's for me. That's just like where I do most of my fishing. But I'll bounce back and forth between a couple of spots here. And I'm more likely to make a move when a spot crowds up, which has just happened where I was just fishing. So after making a couple drifts without a fish, it's getting kind of crowded. Let me try here where there's actually one boat in this area. He's back on the back end of the drift. But there's easily 15 boats on the other drift, so this is pretty empty. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. I'm right where I want to be. It's almost, I find it unacceptable that I'm not getting a hit. Good tail pumps there. Definitely a bigger fish. All right, I've convinced myself that I am pulling larger fish on the swim shad than I've been pulling on the bucktail recently. No question, it's pulling a little bit better size. All right, some other thoughts about using this instead of a bucktail. Well, cost is about even now. That didn't used to be. These used to be more expensive than bucktails, but bucktails have really gone up in price. It's got to do with the deer hair and other things, and so yeah, they're roughly about the same cost. Now, one downside of the swim shad is if you've got bluefish around, which there are very, very few right now, so not really a concern. If you had a lot of bluefish in here, yeah, they're going to chew these things up. Good drift. Starting to lose it now. Speed. Still have enough. All right, so what I'm saying is good drift. I'm looking at my plotter, left-hand side of the screen. I am right where I want to be. Starting to lose it now. Yeah, we're getting towards the back end of the current. It is starting to slow down. I'm more like in the high twos, like 2.8 miles an hour. Still plenty of speed for doing this. Come on, this is it here. Look at these fish. Oh, come on. on. Yep, the speed was there. Back of the rip. Starting to lose it up front. It's like 2.8 up front. It's like 3.8 here. All right, I had to go do a battery change, so I had to. What I do is I run well up current away from everybody, do what I have to do. Usually is a battery change, something else I need to do, whatever. All right, getting back to it. By the way, same swim shad, all these fish, no problem. So durability, not an issue at all. Note how my motor is straight. Now I'm going to grab the wheel, turn it into the wind. Really important, because what that does is it kind of broadsides you to the wind a little bit. And it keeps the boat from sailing. Otherwise, the wind pushes the boat from behind and it just moves you forward. This prevents that. Just a simple thing. Just, turn it into the wind right at the top of the drift. All right, I had a fish on briefly there. In general, I'm not noticing any trouble hooking up as opposed to a bucktail. Pretty much I get the tap, set the hook, I've got the fish, very, very much like a bucktail. I was a little concerned, the bigger object, is the fish not going to get the hook? Doesn't seem to be a problem. See, it's taking longer to hook up now, and there's two reasons for that. One is the drift is slower, so it takes more time to get down the drift range. But the other thing is, because the water moves faster on the back end of the drift here, probably most places, the fish are kind of sliding back because that's where the faster current is. Yeah, going into the rip with this one, I think. Another good one. You can tell that guy's feeding on bunker. Look at that gut. Okay, I did not get a fish on the next drift, and the current is really dying. So this is a good time to break out the big flutter spoon. So that's the Tsunami Heavy. So it's the 6 ounce. And once I started using the 6 ouncers, then I wasn't using the lighter ones anymore. I mean, especially for this setting where I'm going to drop into 80 feet of water or so. Sometimes I'll drop deeper, but right now I'm dropping in like 80 feet. It's a really good lure, especially on the beginnings and ends of the tides when the water's not really screaming. So it's perfect for this. And I mean, clearly the fish are still here. There are some. They're not like full-size bunker. They're kind of, I don't call them half size. The gulls are actually able to swallow them. So, but they're pretty big. So the spoon is actually a really good match for that. So all right, we'll take a drift. Get those last couple drops of current out since I got a little bit of a later start this trip. All right, typical of the big flutter spoon, it pulled a slightly larger fish. Hey, this trip to me showed absolutely 100%. The swim shad is a good alternative to the bucktail, and I really believe it does pull larger fish. So, yeah, happy about that. All right, if you liked this video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Check out my online courses at saltstrong.com/Skinner. Don't forget my books. Remember, those books make great gifts. You can learn more about the books at johnskinnerfishing.com and on Amazon.